What's the fastest you've seen a crowd go from excited to horrified? I was at a Bo Burnham show he was recording for his Netflix special, but unfortunately this part didn't make the cut. He was cracking jokes as usual, then asked everyone in the audience to crack their knuckles on the count of 3. It was the most horrifying evil sound any of us had ever heard. I was at a Russell Peters stand-up show in a large theater. He starts some banter with the guy in the first row, who had a huge tattoo on his arm saying Skylar, or similar name. He asks all about Skylar. It's the guy's daughter. He starts making jokes about daughters, some sexual innuendos etc. and then asks how old Skylar is. The guy in the audience goes, "She passed away." It was pure crickets after that. Budweiser's press conference that turned into a filmed suicide. I was at a 4th of July fireworks show in Fort Walton, Destin, Florida. The show was being staged from the inlet from the Gulf of Mexico to the bay. People were watching it from the other side of the inlet, the Highway 98 bridge, and from their boats on the water. The first salvo launched, but one of the shells exploded either in the launch tube or just above, and ignited the rest of the show on the ground. Some launched a little bit before exploding. What was supposed to be a 30 to 40 minute show lasted 1 to 2 minutes. As the first shells blew up, I could see the silhouette of the technicians as they ran, like a stop motion movie. The technicians were cool as hell, since none of them were looking back at the explosions. I never realized how big the bursts were until I saw them going off on the ground. Everybody was trying to get away. We were being hit by pieces of fireworks. They weren't just landing on everybody, they were hitting us. My dad started the boat, but realized we couldn't move. A lot of kids were watching the show while they floated in the water. We were yelling at the other boats to stop because of the kids in the water. Fortunately, enough people heard/listened or realized what the problem now was that they stopped and locked everybody in place. Nobody was seriously hurt or killed, only a few techs were treated for minor burns. On that day, those techs outran Usain Bolt on the beach, wearing safety gear. I was brought to corridor once, and the matador got his leg impaled by the bull while he was trying to get over a fence. The crowd started screaming and booing the bull like it was a foul move. I was like Mayo the Jew ducking stabbed it. What was it supposed to do? Recite poetry? Woodstock 99. Everyone was super cool and chill, and all of a sudden it felt like the wind shifted. It was palpable, like you could cut the air, it was so heavy. Got a super bad vibe, so we packed up immediately and left. By the time we got to the first gas station, reports of fire and rioting started. I wonder why we get those feelings like that. Like we get feelings where we can tell something is wrong or something bad's gonna happen. An American comedian in the Republic of Ireland saying how happy he was to be in the United Kingdom. Similarly, a Canadian band hollering "We love England" at the beginning of their set in Glasgow. 10 years ago or so, I was watching fireworks for 4th of July with family and friends. You know how the show usually ends with a bunch of fireworks going off at once? Well, that seemed to be what was happening. So people were cheering. One of my friends suddenly gets up, turns to us and says, "Something's wrong. We need to move." I had no idea what he was talking about, but in that moment, I noticed that one of those big bull fireworks had gone oof near the ground, showing only a fraction of the ball. Literally a second later, fireworks were shot into the crowd. It's not like movies. There was no screaming or fleeing for our lives. Everyone just froze. Only 2 fireworks exploded in the crowd. At that point the fireworks were spent, and there was just a deadly silence. Only one of the fireworks hurt anyone. It was one of the ones that are small but really loud. I think a mom and her son were hurt, but even as EMTs rushed to treat them, the silence still hung over the crowd. Very slowly, people started to walk out of the park somberly. Went to see the Pokemon movie with my fellow group home residents as a treat. There were maybe 70 of us there. Most had never been to a movie theater before, so it was a pretty big deal. The house even splurged to get everyone a small soda, candy, and a portion of popcorn. This was literally the best day of most of our lives so far. We get settled in. taking up most of the theater. When the credits started and the lights dimmed, we were so excited. Pokemon, the movie, was about to freaking start. Opening ads start. We are silent the whole time in anticipation. Then the credits never ended. We thought, because this one ad seemed to go on forever, some kind of a spoof of an alien movie, maybe a play on Star Trek. Credits rolled. Lights turned on. Nobody spoke. Every single face was deflated and so freaking disappointed. Someone screwed up and played Galaxy Quest instead of the brand new at the time Pokemon movie. Nobody talked the whole way back to the house. But as soon as we got there, so many kids lost it. I didn't end up seeing it until like 10 years later. And it blew mind, haha. Last week at a BLM protest they were letting anyone come up and speak through a megaphone. This man got up and started talking about his newborn son and how he wanted to make sure we have a better world for him. He then started talking about love and unity and the guy essentially had the crowd eating out of the palm of his hand. Then he brought up Bill Cosby and how he was arrested on allegations and the crowd turned instantly. The entire assembled students from the elementary school where teacher/astronaut Krista McAuliffe taught at, who were broadcast, lived to the world, as they watched the Space Shuttle Challenge explode seconds after takeoff, killing all hands on board, including their teacher. Oh yeah, we had an all-school assembly to watch it, on a tiny TV up on the auditorium stage of course. I was in 3rd grade. We barely understood what was going on. The most unnerving thing was watching our teachers weeping quietly and trying to look strong for us. Philadelphia July 4th fireworks show in a public park downtown. I think 2013. We are all in a field on blankets watching fireworks when we see in the distance a wall of people running at us. Someone yells they're shooting guns. And suddenly it's everyone running. Turned out to be a false alarm, I think. Very surreal to be a part of a mob like that. Several years back, and my band opens up for a hardcore punk outfit from Illinois at an all-ages venue, where they have a sci-fi theme to their show. The singer dresses up as a mad scientist and the other 3 members dress up as his evil robots. They also have old television sets plugged in around the stage playing 1950s B horror movies while they play. No one including the people running the venue have ever seen these guys play before, but going off of the theme we are expecting something awesome. That is until I'm backstage putting my equipment away and notice them all pounding back shots of tequila. When it's their turn to play they are so hammered they can't even make it through one verse of a song. The singer ended up drop kicking one of the TVS into the crowd of about 200 people, which caught fire. This caused the sound guy to end their set right there and they were banned from the venue for life. I've never seen a crowd go from happy to oh shit so fast. There was a guy performing risky stunt dives in a river for money. He pulled off great stuff and people were clapping and clearly hyped. One of the tricks went really bad and he crashed headfirst into a rock from a decent height and killed himself. I always remember what Panjulit said at the end of his male gun routine. It was like, we find it morally wrong to put someone in real danger for entertainment. And I have to agree. A friend of mine decided it would be fun to try and see if he could smash a beer glass on his head. Up until then he was just being an enthusiastic drunk and had some positive attention. He then decided the beer glass thing was a good idea and promptly executed it. Head wounds bleed a lot in the first minute. Crowd went from "oh you're cute" to "Fuwaki's gonna die." I sobered up in an instant and got a semi-clean towel for him to stop the bleeding. Thankfully head wounds also stop bleeding pretty quick in most instances. Drunk ideas are almost never good ideas. Detroit Tigers almost perfect game. We all saw the play and the dude was out. We all start celebrating. Then we slowly realize the ump called him safe. Celebration quickly turned to the opposite. Technically not horrified, but still the fastest 180 I've seen or been a part of. When working on a kids show, a child goes missing within the first 15 minutes of the show starting. Show had an emergency stop, so the parents could plead for the child to make himself known. Nobody was allowed to leave their seats or leave the building. Whole building had to be searched. Everyone assumed the worst, but after half an hour they resumed the show, even though the kid still had not been found. 10 minutes later we got word that the kid had wandered out of the building and was found safe and sound around the corner. To make matters worse, the show was Rapunzel. You know, where the story centers around a kidnapped child. I was at a Van Halen concert a few years back, and David Lee Roth comes on the mic and says this next one is from our new album. At my friend's wedding the groom kicked the flower boy, he was no more than 10. So yeah. WWE's Over the Edge 1999. Owen Hart fell 70 feet to his death during the event, and the company inexplicably continued on with the show after he'd been taken to a hospital. That's kind of ducked up. Monday Night Football, November 18th, 1985. Washington Redskins vs. the New York Giants. I was pretty young at the time, so being allowed to stay up late on a weekday was a rare occasion. During one of the plays, Joe Theismann was sacked by Lawrence Taylor and Harry Carson of the Giants. The entire stadium went silent as Theismann would end up suffering a compound fracture of the tibia and fibula. What I remember most vividly is that the broadcast kept replaying it over and over again, and seeing Shin snap at a 90-degree angle. It made me physically nauseous and had to walk out of the room. If I recall correctly, following the injury, broadcasting policies were changed so that constant replays like this would not be shown in the future. Edit. Surprised to see how memorable this was for others as well. As a budding Redskins fan at the time, I gained a huge amount of respect for Lawrence Taylor that day. I understand that injuries are a part of all sports. It's a level of risk that many are willing to take. It was a need to keep replaying it over and over again from every imaginable angle that made the impression. Thank you all for sharing your similar experiences. Diablo Immortal announcement. I mean, don't you guys own phones? I was at some weird zoo/animal preserve north of Phoenix in 2012, and there was a tigress in chain-linked compound. This little girl went up to her and blew her a kiss. The tigress looked at her and licked her own, not the little girl's, whiskers, and the crowd went all wild. The tigress shifted a little bit and pissed all over the little girl. The crowd was shocked and horrified, but I laughed my ass off. 7 to 8 years ago during a concert there was an earthquake. Not too huge, but enough for some speakers to fall and to scare the shit out of those attending. An animal show at Busch Gardens. The camels started ducking. I don't know if this counts, but I'm a huge fan of 90s rock. Con, Slipknot, Seether, Mushroom Head, etc. Anyways, I've always wanted to see Marilyn Manson in concert, and he was opening for I think one of the mentioned bands above a few years back. Anyways, he comes on and just looked horrible, kind of slurring, but whatever, I get it. So like 4 songs in he starts singing Beautiful People and mostly everyone seemed into it. Well, maybe BC it's TX, and it was an outdoor venue over 100 degrees, but he just goes, "Duck it, you'll suck," and walks off stage. Took a few seconds to register with everyone he wasn't joking, and every starts booing and cussing. I was legit excited and it just turned to garbage so quick. Edit. Thanks for the guild. Probably the Las Vegas shooting. The Station nightclub fire. Small packed club. Great White was playing with unauthorized pyrotechnics. Suddenly caught the building on fire. Emergency exits were locked and people jammed the exit door. 100 died. Thankfully didn't see it in person, but there is a YouTube video showing the whole thing. It is a very traumatic watch though, so wouldn't really watch it unless you want it imprinted strong enough in your brain so that you will always look for exits when going into a crowded area for the rest of your life. Pink Floyd often would have giant floating pigs released during the concert. You know, inflatable balloons. This would happen like halfway through the show. Well, people are smoking tons of pot, drinking, doing God knows what other drugs. So by the time the pig is released it's basically like God descending from the heavens. People were losing their shit at the pig. Well, it got caught in one of the wires and caught on fire. You've never seen so many stoners fall to their knees in terror/fear/sorrow over the death of a giant inflatable pig. There is no God anymore. His bacon got fried. The climax of the last Twilight movie is a fight scene that goes on for 10 minutes. Vampires are ripping each other's heads off. Giant wolves are throwing them around like chew toys. And one by one each of Bella's friends and family die around her. You can actually hear people in the audience react as each named character dies. And none of this happened in the book, which was criticized for its lack of climax. As each minute goes on, it feels like they improved the film's story to give it a real sense of danger and excitement and payoff to the series. So shit's intense. And right as they kill the big bad evil guy, the camera fades to black, pulls out, and reveals that all of it was a vision. The last 10 minutes didn't happen. It was someone seeing a future that might happen. No one died. Just a bunch of vampires and wolves standing around staring at each other in silence. Then they all walk away, alive and well. The crowd groans. A girl up front shouts, "Are you shitting me?" Everyone sits back in their seat. No one cares about what's happening on screen anymore. Some people are laughing because someone hit the undo button on the most exciting 10 minutes of the movie. Never have I seen a theater turn on a film so quickly and so hard. Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.